this webinar. So at the very end, I'm going to send you that follow-up email with a link to this webinar and my upcoming ones as well. So hopefully all that makes sense so far. And let's go ahead and get started here. So today's priority matrix webinar topic is how managers are leveling up their productivity and task alignment with priority matrix. So being in my role that I'm in for the last several years, I've had an opportunity to speak with a lot of people in this management position across all sorts of different organizations. And ultimately what we came to understand is the challenges for managers are very similar across the board if they're not using priority matrix. And what those challenges typically look like is receiving status updates across multiple platforms, meaning emails, Microsoft Teams, maybe spreadsheets, Google Docs. Believe it or not, I see people using all of those. And what happens there is there's a lot of uncertainty on who's responsible for tasks, simply because you can't see it all in one place, which makes it really challenging. That leads to a lack of communication, and the manager can oftentimes feel like they're in the dark about top priorities. And you may be thinking, well, it's simple, just send out a quick email asking for status updates. And for any of you on the webinar today that are managers, you know that it's a little bit more complicated than that to get high quality status updates. So, I would love to hear from those of you on the webinar today. Does this resonate with you? And are these challenges that you're actually facing as a manager? If not, I would love for you to drop into the chat box or just go ahead and raise your hand and I'll take you off mute. What additional challenges are you facing as a manager that you're hoping Priority Matrix can help you with? I would also be curious to learn what tools you all are currently using and what that stack kind of looks like in order to, try to stay connected and get these status updates with your teammates. So feel free to drop that into the chat as we oh, perfect. Aaron, it looks like we have a volunteer here. Aaron, let me go ahead and take you off mute. Give me just one moment here. Okay, so I allowed your microphone, so now you can actually bring yourself off mute on your side.
All right, how's that?
Yes, perfect.
Okay, cool. So challenges is, I guess some of the stacks we use Salesforce a lot. We've been trying to use project management tools, kind of like Mondays, an agenda tool, a few different tools actually. The big thing that would help solve a problem is if all of the updates and things that we're doing inside of Priority Matrix, if that could integrate with Salesforce to update the member record, to log a call is the exact term, but that would be super helpful.
Yeah, and thank you for that feedback. And right now we don't have that integration available. I will be happy to point out how people do use an integration with Salesforce, but I'm definitely going to note that down and I will absolutely pass that on to our engineers to see if that's something we can add because, believe it or not, everybody that uses Priority Matrix is probably using Salesforce as well. So I could see that integration being helpful for a lot of people.
We don't have to spend a lot of time on it on this one. It's just something good to know.
Yeah, sounds good. Well, thank you, Aaron. I appreciate that.
Integrating or using it with clients because I have about 85 companies that I consult that have their own ownership or manager that I'm directly involved with for tasks and accountability and resources.
Yeah, and there's a bunch of ways that Priority Matrix users can actually either share like a read-only version with clients, or they can share a project that's fully collaborative with them, and then that wouldn't allow the other person to necessarily need a license. So I can definitely touch on that. And then there's a few resources that I have specifically for kind of that like external collaboration concept that I would be more than happy to send to you.
Okay, great. Thank you. That's all.
Yeah, thank you so much. Okay, awesome. Thank you for that. All right, so what is the Priority Matrix approach and why are we able to help managers with these types of challenges? Number one, Priority Matrix allows you to centralize communication, also doing that through Teams, which I'll touch on more during the live demo. It will allow you to see all of your projects and all of your tasks and all of those updates in one central place. And what this allows you to do is manage those top priorities seamlessly without having to, again, dig through those emails or dig through that Excel spreadsheet. makes it really easy to see who's working on what priorities, when they're going to be finished, and share those updates back and forth. So how do you actually get started with Priority Matrix? You can download the application for Mac and Windows, and we also have a mobile application as well. For me, where I use Priority Matrix the most is either on the web application at prioritymatrix.com or actually through the Microsoft Teams integration. So for today's demo, we will be looking at it through Teams, and I can touch on the Outlook add-in as well if that would help. I like to share that because people think it's kind of helpful to understand where we are actually using it here at Appfluence, but all the applications are fantastic and they all sync automatically. All right, so what are we going to be looking at in the demo today? We're going to go over some of the quadrant best practices and how you can kind of structure those to collaborate with your team, how that task delegation works, and most importantly, what that high-level overview will look like from a management perspective, whether you're in a one-on-one meeting or you just need to see everything in one place. And I'll also show you where you can actually get those notifications and alerts from your teammates. So let's go ahead and switch gears here. Again, this is a really great time to ask questions that you may have since we're kind of shifting the scene. Move this out of the way. Okay, perfect. So again, for those of you that are looking for kind of a more basic introduction, this unfortunately isn't going to be that webinar for you. We're going to be looking at a couple specific features that we just listed, but we do have an introduction webinar that's available for you live or on the YouTube channel. So for those of you that might be seeing Priority Matrix for the first time, what do I have on my screen here? In the middle of my screen, this is the Priority Matrix integration running 100% through Microsoft Teams. So just go to apps, type in Priority Matrix, and then you'll be able to get us added. And then we always suggest pinning it open so it will stay readily available for you. And then in the middle of the application here, in order to access this, I go to My Projects, and then I click on the 4 quadrants here. So from a management perspective, this is going to be that place that you go to when you need to see all of the projects that you're working on and then kind of tap into it and see the status of those tasks that you've delegated off to your teammates, or maybe they've assigned back to you for questions. It's 100% that two-way street of collaboration between yourself and your teammates, and then back the other way as well. So these are just a couple different project examples. You'll see the 30, 60, 90-day template for managers. You can actually access all of the templates by going to Add Project, and then you'll see a little category there for current templates, and this guy is going to be in there, which can be really helpful. So opening up a project here to use this as the example. So typically, if you have an update for one of your teammates, or maybe you're looking to receive an update, you may create an email and CC 20 different people, hopefully not that many, but we've definitely seen that be the case. But kind of shift your thinking here, and instead of opening an email to share or receive status updates, create a project. And within that project, you're able to add your teammates, which is giving full visibility. So Tina, I'll pick on you just because I see your name. Let's say that you and I are on a team together and there's some similar priorities that we're working on. We'll create the project. I would add you as a teammate into this project. And now what happens is there's 100% visibility and access into here. So again, from this management standpoint, if I ever need to see, okay, what's everybody working on for this project, it's pretty clear cut and easy to understand what we've got going on. I did mention that we'll look at best practices for quadrants. And what I mean by that is that you're actually able to rename these quadrants. So I know for me working in sales and customer success, the quadrants are always based off of the different types of accounts that I'm working with. This looks a lot different for, different departments and different organizations that use this system, but I want you to understand that on the right-hand side, you can always rename these. So just highlight it, delete it, and then you can really break down the quadrants to represent the priorities that you're working on. And then let's say moving forward, I'm the manager overseeing this project. We'll just say new task for webinar, and we'll say this is going to be due in 1 week. So it's just as simple as going in here, adding this priority. You can then delegate it to the person that needs to work on it. Since we said due in 1 week, the system did pick it up and plug that in for us. We could add all of the item notes that we may need to get done. And if there's any resources, files, links, and for you, Erin, this is where a lot of people will link to a lead that they have in Salesforce. So you can just link it right here. It's not going to transfer information, unfortunately, but there is a way just to at least kind of keep those connected. So what happens now is we've had this really easy way to actually assign this task to somebody else. And if they have questions, they can assign it back to me, or we can even get other people involved as well, because oftentimes there are multiple people working on a priority together. And when we add followers, you're basically signing them up to get notifications. So that's kind of the idea on a project level. Keep in mind that as the manager, you don't have to be the one creating priorities or projects. Everybody on your account will have the ability to set up their own projects and set up their own priorities as they need to do so. All right, so let's take a look at kind of a high level overview, because the question always is, okay, Erica, we understand how we can create projects and we totally get the purpose and how you can delegate items, but me being a manager, where do I go to see my top priority tasks with my teammates and get all the updates that I need? So I'm going to run us through 3 different views right here. This first one here is going to be your alerts. And alerts are pretty self-explanatory. It's that place where, let's say you're a manager and you delegated out 10 different tasks. And in a couple of days, your teammates are then sharing status updates for you to see, changing deadlines, updating the progress, whatever it might be. It's going to come in right into the alert section. So for me, and I'm sure this might resonate with a couple of you, but if you're working on different time zones, some of our employees are actually in Europe. The place that I start my day is in the alerts, just to make sure I didn't miss anything while I was offline and while my teammates were working. So you can click through all the alerts, and when you're ready, you can actually clear them if you need to do that. So again, this would take the place of having to dig through your emails to see what's from clients, external collaborators, and what are actually updates from your teammates. So more importantly, in my opinion, is this agenda view. So I'm going to show you 2 different views right here. What we're looking at here is my personal to-do list across all of our projects. So let's say we have 24 projects, and as a manager, I'm like, okay, what do I need to get done for myself and for my teammates over the next 7 days? So it'll break down every single deadline that you have, and it also shows you your upcoming meetings and prioritized emails. So, for those of you that can relate to how I feel, which is, I don't have an extra minute in the day, and I definitely don't have time to pick through emails to see what I need to work on. Well, the great news is the system automatically sets that up for you, which is really helpful. In my opinion, more relevant to the concept for today, which is how managers can get those status updates and stay in alignment, is going to be shifting gears to seeing items I follow. So what it means to follow an item would be, let's say I create a task and then I assign it to Erin. At that point, that task would show up on Erin's personal agenda because it is his priority. And it would then show up as an item that I follow because I was bumped out of the owner's seat, just put in the passenger seat basically as a follower to the item, which is really important to understand, because for items that you want to get status updates for, just put yourself as a follower, and then you can go to the items that you follow and go to the agenda view. And now you can see all of the upcoming deadlines for items that you are following. So again, as a manager, I create 10 tasks, I delegate all of them, And then I think, okay, what do we have due this week from all of those tasks that I've delegated out to my teammates? Again, good luck seeing all those updates and emails and Excel spreadsheets, because it's those systems just really aren't meant to be fully collaborative like this is. So now I can actually click through these items, and if I have a question, I can click on it and say, hey, Cody, is this still on track? And then I could say, have not seen a progress update yet. And then I could be super over the top, and I could say, remind Cody in 10 minutes. So, all those updates took me about 5 seconds, which is really nice. This interface is really easy to work through. And I set that little reminder. So if he's on a meeting or, stepping away from the computer, whatever it might be, he will definitely be reminded again when that reminder goes through. So kind of the last view here that I want to show you, which is really helpful, is the search view. So what this does is kind of similar to the agenda, but it's a lot more inclusive in the sense that it looks across all of the projects that you have and all of the items that you have access to. And it shows you literally everything in there. But in my opinion, that's really not the most helpful thing to do. What's really helpful is the fact that you can actually apply a filter. So you can say, show me only items that are assigned to myself, again, getting my own personal to-do list, or choosing one of your teammates. So now this is items that this specific person is in charge of, whether or not I created it and assigned it to them. Maybe a different teammate assigned it to them, or maybe they created this task themselves and now they're just working on it. From a management perspective, this is 100% what everybody needs to make sure that nothing is slipping through the cracks. And in fact, it's not micromanaging, because we're not asking for updates and asking questions and saying, hey, what are you working on? It's just having this visibility readily available, basically at your convenience whenever you need it. So hopefully that helps. I'm also very aware of the fact that as a manager, there's not necessarily a day and time that you're only working within Priority Matrix. So when you are in a chat or in a channel working with your team, I want you to be aware that you can actually add those relevant projects to a chat or to a channel. And any updates you make here are going to sync back to your full Priority Matrix application automatically. So to touch on this really quickly, Aaron, for your question, which was how do I use Priority Matrix to interact with, 80 plus clients that I'm working with as a consultant? A really popular way to do that is, and I'll actually use the chat as an example. Let's say you have a Teams chat with a client that you're working with. You can actually add this project here to that chat, either as a fully collaborative view, so they can actually make changes and share updates with you, or I actually have an example that I added to a channel the other day, which is sharing a project in just a read-only view. And what that means is you can say, hey, stakeholder or client, here's what I have scheduled, here's what my timeline looks like. They can click through to see all the different views, but they can't make any changes. So I think this is probably the most common way I see people sharing information with external collaborators. But definitely keep in mind you can allow them to edit it if you want that two-way collaborative street. Lastly, and then I'll open this up for questions, is the concept of using the one-on-one view. So as a manager, you're probably in back-to-back meetings almost every day, all day. And we want to help you have effective meetings with your teammates. So what the one-on-one view does is it basically allows you to choose one person on your team, and then you can really drill down and focus on only your priorities with that person. So it's kind of similar to saying, show me items that I follow, but this is only showing you relevant items to yourself and one other person. So we can also add shared tasks as well, where you can go as far as prioritizing it into a quadrant and a project and setting a deadline. So during these meetings, when you're saying, hey, can you get X, Y, and Z done by next month or next week, it's not, okay, I'll try to remember that, or shoot me an email with that update. It's okay, let's actually add this to a project in a quadrant and set a deadline. So next time we connect, it's automatically added to our shared priority list in the one-on-one. The last thing that I always like to point out is the fact that at the bottom down here where it says O365, you are able to see all of your shared emails, calendar events, and shared files with this one other person. So please correct me if I'm wrong, but from my perspective, this is really going to be that full featured collaborative view that you need to see literally everything relevant to yourself and this other person to have this effective meeting. So that's kind of all I've got from my side in terms of some of the top features that managers are using. We also have workload management reports, productivity insight reports, and more functionalities for meeting support as well. And those are all covered in kind of different webinars specific to those functionalities. So what do the next steps look like? We always suggest our new users and current users to review and sign up, for the upcoming webinars that we have. So we have, about 3 or 4 per week. And again, we have dozens and dozens of pre-recorded ones available on YouTube that you can watch for more information. Definitely start your free trial with your team, add everybody who needs to be testing this out together. And be sure to utilize the templates and the training materials that we have readily available for you on YouTube and on our knowledge base. So with all that being said, I would love to, again, kind of pause and open up the floor for conversations and questions. Feel free to take your time dropping it in there. Okay, perfect. Aaron, I'll take you off mute again. Give me just one moment. Okay, I'm not sure if you raised your hand on purpose, but you can go off mute now.
Yeah, I did. I just took it off. Thanks. Can you hear me?
Yes.
Okay, so with external clients that aren't in our domain, if you will, our company email address or domain, do they have to purchase a subscription on their own to engage with it?
So for consultants specifically, I'm not sure if that's the field that you're in, but we do have a direct license set up to allow consultants to have like up to 20 or 40 of their clients on their license, which would not require them to set up their own license. And we have it set up that way because we understand that, you're often interacting with a lot of clients that come and go. And we totally understand that, let's say I'm your client and Laura's also your client. You don't want me to see what you're working on with Laura or vice versa. The consultant license allows you to keep all of your clients' information completely private to the other clients. So that's kind of cool. And then in terms of, let's say that I'm working on a project and we have external stakeholders who need to see these projects, they can stay on the free version. That would allow them to have access up to 5 projects. So that's kind of one approach. And if they need to use more than 5 projects, our license is really flexible. So you could add somebody for, 6 months, take them off, and then add the next person who you're onboarding for that project. Does that answer your question?
Yeah, I believe so. And if they want to have their own account license to use within their own organizations, they could still be doing that independent of me if I'm using them as a guest when I have a consultant account. Is that right?
Exactly. Yep, 100% right.
Or they could set up their own accounts and add me as an external individual that engages their stuff, so they have the burden on it.
Yeah, exactly. And there's no restrictions when it comes to cross-domain collaboration. So you and I could share projects, we can interact. It's completely seamless in that sense.
And they don't need 365 because they could just work independently on the web browser or the mobile app.
Exactly. Yep.
PC app. Okay.
Exactly.
Does
Yeah,
it
and Aaron,
other calendars and email streams the same way, or does it have to be Office 365?
Yeah, so you can interact with your Outlook, inbox, and calendar, and then we also have integrations with Google Calendar and Gmail as well.
Oh, okay, perfect.
Yeah.
If there's no,
Yeah.
if you do have time with this one, if they don't have other questions, if you could just give me a glimpse of what some of the reporting or dashboards look like, that would be really cool.
Yeah, for sure. Let me go ahead and share my screen. And full transparency, I thought I was still showing it. So I was clicking through things here, but just realized I wasn't. But let's see. So kind of going back to the full priority matrix application here, it's kind of cool because now you're able to use all the reports through the Teams integration. But basically, you'll just go to the 4 lines in the top left corner. And then at the bottom, it says general reports and workload management. The general reports are basically going to paint a picture of everything that has been being worked on, either on a daily update level or on a weekly level. So I like to show the last 7 days just to have a little bit more activity. But basically, again, what this allows you to do is interact with this report. You can click on everything that you see. So if you're like, what did my team finish over the last 7 days? Click on that and it will give you that full breakdown of who was working on it, created, completed, and when it was actually due, which is kind of cool. And kind of the more you scroll down, the more you get into the weeds as to the specifics as to what was happening in all of the projects and where people were spending their time. And I really like this pie chart because it allows you to see what was completed, what's overdue for the week, and current tasks that are still open with a deadline for the week. So I'll just kind of scroll through here. There's a lot of information in here. One of my favorite reports is the workload management report. And why I like this is because you can go in here and you can, if I had this example set up better, you'd be able to see yourself and your teammates compared to each other to basically understand the workload for each person. So if I click on this, I can see, okay, I had 6 items due this week. I can click on that number 6 and it shows me exactly what I personally had due for the week.
Well, that's nice.
So
Resources. Can you show me how you first got to the reports? I keep missing that first initial step where how to find them.
yeah, so you're going to open the full priority matrix application in Teams and then just click on the 4 lines in the top left corner. And then you'll see the general reports and workload management. Let me know if you have any challenges accessing it, but it'll be under my projects first, and then you should see the 4 lines there.
Okay, yeah, I needed my projects part. I got there now.
Yep. And I actually just did a webinar specifically for the reports, and it's only about 20 minutes long, and I can email you the link for that, and we take a closer look at all the options here. And then, Aaron, I will actually send you a follow-up email with a link to my calendar, or we can kind of connect more one-on-one, and I can answer any other questions you might have and kind of help you work through your use case.
Okay, yeah, that'd be cool. That'd be really cool. I'd like to have something up and running before the end of the month because I've been testing a few other things with some of my clients just to see what they're willing to do. And this one looks like it might have a few more pieces that the other ones required multiple tools for. So
Perfect. Yeah, I'll follow up with you and we can talk about that one-on-one.
Okay, cool. Thank you.
Yep. Perfect. Well, thank you everybody for joining. I hope that this was super helpful. And as mentioned, I will send this recording to all of you.